Welcome to I'm From the Internet, a podcast about somethingawful.com, the goons, and their consequences. I am Winslow Domain, sitting here with Jaybrandstetter, and we have, again, our special guest, Vanessa Guerrero.
Hello.
Now, we were gone. Hi, Vanessa. We were gone for a couple weeks because if I'm reading this correctly, Vanessa, it says here that you had Latina anthrax. Is that correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It's actually just hot Cheeto dust in the lungs.
Yeah, that makes sense. You got the orange lung.
Yeah. I got the orange lung.
Yeah.
Pretty bad, and it took me out for a while.
Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, did you know that at the Doritos factory they don't allow pregnant women to work in the Cool Ranch powdering department because it causes birth defects?
Is this
the
real?
babies will just be too cool.
That's true. It's like black lung, but there's also like baker's lung where you can get like the specific emphysema of inhaling flour for too long.
I was in a class action lawsuit for popcorn lung when I worked at a movie theater.
Oh, because of like the aerosolized butter.
Well, you have to put on a powder to color it first.
Oh wow! I see. I thought popcorn lung. Oh well, popcorn lung is a vaping thing too, right?
Yeah, this is specifically the powder that is made to make popcorn.
Oh, I listened to this podcast about it was some specific thing about like smoking and stuff like that, like any kind of inhalants and like lung cancers and shit. And they were like, yeah, anything that's not pure air, if you're breathing it, it's bad news. Like anything in your house that's not just air isn't good for you. And and they're like, specifically, don't burn incense, no scented candles. And I was like, fuck it. Fuck you, I'll die, I don't care.
I need my pretty smells.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I'm here for a bad time, not a long time.
This can't be good for me, but I smell great.
Yeah, I know, right? Like, yeah, that to me is like the most annoying kind of like person who's just like, technically that's bad for you. It's like, yeah, I know. Every part of my body is oxidizing. Everything is bad for me. Like, we're all rotting. Come on. Yeah. But you're feeling better?
I'm feeling much better. I can breathe now. I have an emergency inhaler in case of emergencies. So that's great.
Yeah, it looked like you were allergic to everything.
Yeah. They ran a test and they put the little allergens on my back and I scored 100%.
Oh my god. Dude, that's crazy because when we hung out, we ate out food and we did all the whole shebang and you didn't die. But
it wasn't food based. It's all like airborne environmental allergens.
Oh.
Because if you recall, I was congested the entire time.
Yeah, I just remember the you have a perfume that makes you smell like waffles.
Yes.
Which is when you came over, I was like, can I tell her that she smells like, is that rude? And you're like, no, it smells like waffles. I'm like, all right,
that's entirely by design.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. It's like they made that Axe body spray that smelled like chocolate. Yeah. Breakfast is served. Well, it's genuinely been like 3 weeks since we went over Danganronpa. So from what I would recall, there's a jigsaw teddy bear who's killing children in a mansion full of like really over the top traps.
Yes.
Yep. They are trapped.
Traps meaning traps, not the pejorative sense. Okay.
Yeah, a deadly trap inside a giant school, and they're working through it. And I did a little summary here because, for the listeners, there isn't any break because right now those episodes are going up. So it's very funny for them. It's just another week, but for us, it's been a month. So I have a little refresher here just to go over the students that have been killed, so we can sort of work through that. So the first death we had was Junko, the ultimate fashionista. She was stabbed to death for attacking Monokuma, which is if you break the school rules, the punishment of death. Then the first actual student murder was the ultimate pop star. She was the one who was going to help us, and then she got killed. Then there was Leon, the baseball player. He was the one who had that really good execution. Where that was when I think that was when y'all got on board with this a little. It was when him getting bludgeoned for sure. Yeah, the stoning via baseballs. And then there was Chihiro Fujisaki, the ultimate programmer. She was the one who got killed in the locker room, and there was a lot of gender subtext there. And then her murderer was the ultimate biker. He got reduced down to butter in one of those big motorcycle orbs. This is very anime,
right? Jesus, like it's so funny because I watched a video recently that was could Jigsaw reasonably afford the traps of Saw? And like Saw 1, you could do that basically in an afternoon, like there's a few pieces of it that are pretty ridiculous. Like the reverse bear trap, that's like the opening scene of Saw 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that one is just like, it's hard to put a price on any of that.
How do you put a price on fun?
But I know, exactly, right? But he just goes through and just like uses the price points of the time to like define just how much these things would cost. And that's where things like it takes me out of the fantasy world. Because I want things that are like kind of gritty and grounded in reality. Like, have you guys ever seen the movie Valhalla Rising?
No, I have not.
No.
Okay, it is Mads Mikkelsen in like this.
I love him.
Epic. Yeah, he's one of those guys who it's like he's fantastic. He's absolutely incredible. Like he looks so fucking evil. And his politics are absolutely detestable, but we just don't talk about that. But no, it's like a big legendary story of like kind of the founding of Norway, kind of told through, these grand metaphors. But there's this scene where they have two slaves, Mads Mikkelsen and some other guy, and they're both, I believe they're both, tied to a post, and it's this kind of like a cage match sort of thing where they're just beating the fuck out of each other in a mud pit, and Mads Mikkelsen just finds like an arrowhead and gets behind the guy and just slits his guts, and it's like the most brutal kill scene that they do with a rock, like a little chip of flint type of thing. That's way more brutal and unsettling to me than like, I'm going to crush your brain with a solid gold cinder block. Like, shut up. Like it's. I need something that's a little more grounded. But
you talk about the Saw values. It makes me think like the opposite, where it was like someone trying to do like budget Jigsaw, like one of those Dollar Tree YouTubers, but it's supposed to be like, we're building Jigsaw traps for $10 or less, or something like that. Like, maybe I'd watch that. But
yeah, I get into that.
Yeah, so then after that we had the nerd and the college Republican got murdered because they got tricked by the Gothic Lolita, the gambler who was burned at the stake. And that was the last execution we had. And now we are up to Sakura, the giant muscle lady who we just found dead in the locked rec room. So we have a locked room murder on our hands.
Yeah, the big old beefy lady.
About her.
Yeah. Yeah,
with her little flats.
Yeah,
dude, I pity for Robert Liefeld. You know what I mean? Like, because it's so hot when you're drawing like such an interesting character. It's like, what do you do with the shoes? You can either like, there's just not a lot of expression that you can do with a fantasy character's shoes.
Yeah, you would know that better than us. You're working on your character cards right now, so you're thinking about your character
you don't see their feet a lot, but most of the time it's just it's just like a leather boot. But yeah.
And so we're down to 7 students from 15. The big thing is that we learned that there was the biggest, most awful, most tragic event in human history. And because of that, the school got turned into a shelter. And we don't know what that event was. You guys had theorized that there was a nuclear apocalypse of some kind, maybe. And that was the leading theory last time we were here. And the other wrinkle that we've been finding is we've been finding photos of the students interacting before they knew each other. So we're thinking maybe there's some kind of memory manipulation or alternate timeline shenanigans or something like that going on. Like there's more going on than it appears is where we are.
Right.
All right. And so Sakura is gone, and we have to figure out who did it. And it was this locked rec room mystery. So there's a lot of investigation and a lot of, and also in the lead up before this, the whole thing was that it had been revealed that she was a traitor, and the students were kind of divided amongst themselves, where half of them kind of supported her and, thought that she was on their side, and the other half didn't want her with them. It was tearing the group apart, and now she's dead. So we're trying to figure out who killed her and why.
Yeah, she just is in like a little rec room. It's so funny that everything else in this like crazy ass school, like we have a budget for a motorcycle cage and all of this other insane bullshit, but the rec room just kind of looks like a startup tech company that was just like, we're gonna have a cool fucking Google room, and it's just what it is a dartboard, like a Galaga machine, a pool table, and a chessboard.
We're gonna have scooters and no insurance.
I know, there's no like fanciness to this at all. It's just like, like kind of the way that no matter how much time you put in your Sims house, it is just a series of rectangles. And like, there's not a whole lot of like interesting things that you can do with straight and diagonal lines. And so this one is just like, all right, we have a 40 by 80 box. Let's put a few fun objects in it. It's like, oh God, just put me in a ball pit.
Yeah, I've been in youth groups that had rec rooms that looked like this when I was growing up.
Yeah, this is a church basement. That's what that is. That's funny.
Yeah, a cool youth pastor is going to pull an acoustic guitar out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so I have the little comic here of what happened, because this one basically was Sakura wanted to squash the beef that she had with the students that didn't like her, so she invited them all to the rec room, and it was these three here. It was Toko, she's the writer who is also a serial killer. There was Byakuya, who's the Baron Trump type, who's your nemesis. And then we have the fortune teller, who's the really crunchy guy, who's kind of an idiot. And so she's inviting them all to meet her.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the dreads.
I do love like the anime or the manga thing where like every noise, I mean, it's a comic thing, but like every noise is relayed on the screen. And so like, you have like this like little sailor schoolgirl reading a letter, and it's her going, and like, and then the fucking the fortune teller guy's like, just like reading a note. I've read devastating handwritten notes given to me from people who are like, I no longer love you, and I'm going to fuck your best friend now, and I didn't make any sounds at all. Like.
Yeah, I don't have a cool special onomatopoeia for when I'm reading, unfortunately. This is like this is like an Animal Crossing where everyone just has a little noise whenever they do something. This is your reading noise.
Yeah. I do like that in Animal Crossing. I don't know if you ever saw that Polygon thing where the fake language they use in the English version of Animal Crossing is just like, but in every other country they have their own versions of it, even though it's a fake language, because the English version is actually, they just took long stretches of spoken words, tuned them up, and then chopped them down to like microseconds. So what you're hearing is like splits of individual phonemes in English. And so they actually do kind of match up with like tiny little shards of words. And in every, like in Japanese, they do the same thing with Japanese spoken dialogue, so that you are still hearing the sounds of like the given language.
That's super cool. I didn't know that.
Just a little fact for you.
I miss when Animal Crossing was mean to you.
Yeah. I as someone who's been playing the new Silent Hill, which I will fucking gab about that at some point in time.
Looking forward to it.
I do. I'm playing it on hard first time through, and it's like, oh, it rules how much this game hates me. I've been playing Silent Hill since I was like a little kid, and I have never once in my life worried about how many bullets I have. But in this game, I'm like, Jesus Christ, how the fuck am I going to get through this part? Everything is so goddamn strong. The nurses can grab your weapons out of your fucking hand.
Wow.
It's nuts, dude. Anyways, sorry. That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, a game within a game there. cool.
Yes.
Yeah, so she invited the students there, and Toko, the writer, arrived early and hid in a locker. So she was hiding in there when all the rest of this is going down. Then after that, a fortune teller shows up. She greets him, and he gets scared and think that she's going to attack him. So he attacks her first. He smashes her over the head with a bottle and knocks her out. And then he panics. And so because he's an idiot, he's like, I got to frame someone. So he writes Toko's name in blood on a piece of paper and then runs off.
That's definitely how I would do it.
Yeah, that is a fun thing about him. Like, he is very stupid in a way that is fun. And so Hiro, the fortune teller, after he leaves, Toko comes out of the locker and she sees that he's trying to frame her. So she hides the magazine that has her name written in it and puts it up. So that's like a wrinkle that you find later is the magazine. And while she's doing that, Sakura comes back too. And while she's waking up, Toko gets shocked and faints from seeing her, which makes her turn into the serial killer, Genocide Jack. Yeah, that was a thing from last time, that she's also a serial killer.
Dude, oh man. It's just so funny to me that like every like anime is it's just like these soap operas where like there's these extremes of the human experience that you have to touch on, where it's like you have to like black out and turn into like the world's greatest serial killer, and also people are fainting, and like, you know, he's like a murderous angel from heaven's own secret hell where God's devil's brother lives. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Oh,
what
God,
are you doing?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves now.
Oh boy.
So yeah. So when Toko turns into Genocide Jack, she also grabs a bottle and smashes Sakura over the head and knocks her out, and then cleans up and runs away. So she did the same thing, knocks her out, thinks she's dead, leaves. So this is really a tragic thing for Sakura. She keeps getting knocked out over and over.
Poor Sakura.
So yeah. So she comes to, and basically like all these people that she's tried to talk to keep attacking her. She has poison. She drinks it. And that is when we found her. So she committed suicide is what happened. That is how she died.
That's crazy.
Cool.
Yeah, so we're getting into teenage suicide stuff here. And before we get into that, the
trigger warning.
Yeah, I probably should have put a trigger warning at the beginning there. But yeah, this investigation is complicated. This is the point where the game starts to lose me, because they're like, things aren't complicated enough. We have to keep making them more complicated. So even with all this stuff that's been happening, they were like, this isn't complicated enough. So somebody knew that she killed herself and was intentionally messing with evidence this whole time to try and hide it and make it harder for you. So this is one of those, this is where the game is kind of like, its reach is exceeding its grasp. It's like, we want to make it more complicated, but we can't think of ways to, and you know, it's already been pretty ridiculous up to this point. So it's losing me.
One thing that I think we can all agree on is that you can tell the quality of a show by how long its wiki links, its Wikipedia links are.
Oh yeah.
You know, the more links and references and twists a show has, that means it's better.
Yeah. The more you have to totally take notes and keep running stock of what the fuck is happening.
Yeah. The longer it takes to explain a show to someone, the better it is.
Yeah. When you look up a character,
forget the elevator pitch.
When you look up a character and there's like 5 different versions of them, there's a disambiguation. That's when you know you're on the good stuff. Like, oh yeah, which version of this character are we talking about?
Yeah. Remember, if you have like a multiverse where anything can happen, that's because you're a really, really good writer, and not because you can't handle writing consequences. Anyways.
Oh, gosh.
You see that Robert Downey Jr. is getting $90 million to just play another dude in a series that he already wanted to quit?
I'm so glad. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah, like I'm glad he got that money, but yeah.
Yeah, get that money, man. I'll bet he could relapse better than anyone else in the entire world.
Yeah.
I just like, I mean, I know we got to talk about this fucking Danganronpa.
Yeah, let's have fun. Like, we're not in a rush. We can.
Yeah. It's just like, I know that you, Jay, personally don't like it when people call things slop, but man, oh fucking man, it's just to me like it's so. I'm very keyed up about this right now.
Oh god, yeah.
Because, again, we don't have to talk about this, but like the Silent Hill 2 remake has been like by the critics massively well received, and but there's like this huge backlash from like right-wing gamer freaks who like never liked the games, but they just want something to yell about, right? And it's just more and more and more with every new media release, whether it's a game or a movie. I'm seeing these people who like they can only experience the world through fear and rage, and like it's grown adults whose entire media intake is toys for children. You know what I mean? And it's like, I know this is like an old conversation that's been had for, since fucking a million years, but also like since Marvel became this whole thing. But it's just like, there are like men who are older than me whose whole identity is that they are protecting the sanctity of the video game movies from the early, or like the comic book movies of the early 2000s. Like that to me is just so devastating to think about. That's your whole goddamn thing.
That's such a bummer.
Yeah.
It's so bleak.
It really is, yeah.
Like, liking games is great, dude. I fucking love video games. I love video games, and I think movies can be really fun and all that. But, like, if your whole thing is that, like, every game needs to be strong white male protagonist, sexy female characters, like, there's not an exaggeration here. There are so many people who that's their whole thing, is that they need to be titillated 100 hours of the day. And it's so frustrating.
Just dangle some keys. Just dangle some keys.
I know, truly. Just key jangling, man.
I got one of those cat toys. It's like a wheel with lights that just automatically goes around. Those things are pretty cool.
Yeah, just a pair of tits on the end of a cat toy, just entertaining 35-year-old men. Just
the
like,
man tree for your man cave.
Check out these jiggle physics, you fucking loser.
No, see, the RDJ thing is interesting to me because like the last big Marvel movie was the Deadpool one where they were like mining all the nostalgia that's left out of the X-Men movie. So it's like they're out of stuff to mine. So it's like now they're just mining their own history where it's like, okay, we're getting the guy from the first Marvel movie and getting him to come back. Like the snake is fully eating its own tail now. They don't have any pre-Marvel stuff to do nostalgia pulls from.
Yeah, it's just going to turn into like there are so many self-references that it's kind of like how Fortnite and any of those other like super ultra crazy character diverse. Mind you, when I say diverse in these things, I'm not talking about like there's just too many Polacks in the Marvel movies. But no, just like, you have a talking raccoon with a living god, and also like, Dexter's Lab, like just all this bullshit crammed into one movie that it's like, if you can imagine, like a Christmas marshmallow fruit salad that like you put all of these very colorful things in together and you mix it up with all of the other bullshit. And eventually when you have all of the colors of the rainbow, all neon and shining, mixed together, it just turns into this, like, homogeneous slop.
Ambrosia salad.
Like, yes. Ambrosia salad. Oh, God.
Oh, that's... Yeah.
I can't... Like, ambrosia salad is, like... the name ambrosia is so far fucking away from what that actually tastes like. Going to Burger King and getting a Mana of Heaven burger. That's funny. Okay.
Yeah, I can't talk.
One last thing. I do like that when the character picks up the bottle of poison, it says nab. And to me, as someone who grew up watching The Simpsons, I always say yoink whenever I pick something up. So it's like, yeah. Yoink.
Yeah, that's what got me using yeet, was when someone explained, oh, it's the opposite of yoink. I was like, I get it now. Thank you.
Yeah. I think that, like, it's like saying Kobe, you know? You always gotta have your little words.
Yeah, life doesn't come with those cool sound effects. You gotta make your own. So the identity of the person who, since we know who it was Sakura who committed suicide, the mystery is kind of who was the person who knew that she did it and tried to cover it up. And the person who did it was this character here, Aoi Asahina, the ultimate swimming pro. But that's how they pronounce her name in the game. This swimmer was the poisoner. Yeah. Aoi is the character that I thought the pop star was going to be. She's basically your quote girlfriend. Like she's like very upbeat and helpful. She's always helping you with stuff. She's kind of like a big sister character for everyone, where most of the other athletes are very competitive and she's more about teams and working together. And she's just like a very pleasant, inoffensive character who's always helping people. And throughout the game, she's kind of just there doing stuff. So, but yeah, like I mentioned, ultimately the killer is the victim, Sakura.
Okay, they're going to execute a dead body?
This I'd like to see.
Yeah, that is kind of the thing. Is
go on.
We'll get to that, but first, before they do, it's like everyone is upset at AOA because it's like because you know, if they accused the wrong person of this, they would all die. So she was basically trying to get everyone killed, and she explained that she's upset with them because she was friends with Sakura, and they basically bullied her friend into killing herself because she found this note saying that that's why she did it, and this is. Speaking with the thing getting more complicated, Monokuma goes, "Oh yeah, I made that up. That's not real. That's a fake note." So, yeah, they're really.
God damn it!
This is, like I said, this is when the game starts losing me. So we get
okay. Yeah, you're gonna come to a point where you're gonna just tell us that this is actually all not based on a true story.
I just made this up. I generated all these screenshots.
Oh, damn
this is all the inside of an autistic child's snow globe.
Yeah, Danganronpa is actually a slice of life thing.
Snow globe. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's going to zoom out. And so after we get to read the actual letter, so we get a little closure on her situation here. And this is kind of the wrinkle with her whole case. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I have a bit here. I have an obligation to get this situation under control. And to fulfill that obligation, I've decided to do as the mastermind has commanded. I will do as I was told and commit murder. But I've decided the one I'm going to kill is myself. If the mastermind demands that I kill someone, then that someone will be me. Then my dojo will be safe, and above all, none of you will have to kill anyone. When I die, the source of conflict among you all died with me. For that, I'm willing to give up my life. If it can save you, then sacrificing my own life could have no greater meaning. Whenever you think of me, please know that you are all my most treasured friends. I've never had people like you in my life. And from there, we kind of learned later that this was kind of a feint, that she basically broke open the door to the headmaster's office, which is against the rules and would get her killed anyways. And this was all like 5D chess distraction stuff. So they kind of undercut it later, but it is also sincere. It's just like, this is all a very odd situation for me. I want to kind of get your takes on it before we dig into it a little, I guess. Like,
Vanessa, you go ahead. I have thoughts.
I mean, she took the easy way out.
Yeah, suicide is painless.
Suicide is painless.
James Randi used to do a thing where every morning he would write on a slip of paper, "I, James Randi, will die today," and put it in his pocket, and he would sign it and date it. So that if he died in a car accident, people would be like, "What the fuck? How would he know?" But what I'm saying is,
start doing that.
If I die, I want you to, both of you, have to tell people I died defending my dojo.
I will. I absolutely will.
Kind of like when Trevor, Trevor Moore tweeted that when he died, he wanted to be known as the local sex pot died. Is that Trevor Moore?
It was. Yeah, that was from when he died. That's how people actually memorialized him. It was very cute. I saw.
Yeah, they were like local sex pot died. Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah, defending your dojo.
Yeah,
that is her motivation. She has a dojo, like a karate dojo, where she trains, and it's like that's why she was working for Monokuma, because he threatened to destroy her dojo and kill her friends, like her warrior friends.
It does take me back to Count Dante. This is a way too big of a story that there's a Dollop podcast about it, and I also wrote a play about this. But there was a guy in Chicago named Count Dante, and he was one of the great karate charlatans of the 70s.
I love
and
a
80s.
dojo instructor.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, he was far beyond any of that. He was truly one of God's gifts to charlatanism. He blew up his rival's dojo with dynamite. He did he faked his death multiple, he did all sorts of just psychotic shit. And lived so many bizarre lives, was just a fantastical gift to compulsive lying. It's worth a listen, and someday I'll get a real production out of my play. But yeah,
it's so great. I don't remember the nitroglycerin chakra. That's very fun.
yes.
Yeah. And so, like you mentioned earlier, there was no actual murder. So, but Monokuma does have an execution for us.
It's just so fucking stupid. Oh my god.
I didn't even know a crane can move that way.
No, it can't. When you're using such a big weapon to kill such a small thing, there's a good risk that you just miss entirely. Okay. Yeah, that one, it's basically the little laptop with the identity, with the little computer girl on it, was just smashed by a giant robot, or by an excavator, and then turned into a little ball with is the character's name Danganronpa?
Monokuma is the bear.
Monokuma, yeah.
Like monochrome.
And yes, yeah. So that it's just that one was a little because I don't get what's the excavator. Is there is that a reference to something that I don't remember?
No, that is kind of a problem I felt going through, is they kind of lose the thread with the ironic deaths. I felt the last one with the Gothic lady, at least that was kind of European with her getting burned. This one is just we're just crushing this. I guess maybe because it's a computer, so we're using a machine to destroy a machine.
Why not a big magnet?
Yeah, they could have been more fun. Or what if they did a Tron thing and he uploaded himself in there and was shooting her or something? They could have had been wackier.
Yeah,
with it.
Two magnets on either side. You see her her image glitch out, just
the degausser,
and split in half. Yeah, that degausser. That's so funny. But I don't know. It just makes me think of that tweet of Jigsaw voice. You've been late all life. You've been showing up late all life, and you've been drowning people in piss by being late to people. It's oh no, you're gonna drown me in piss, aren't you?
I don't know why drowning in piss has been my latest thing that makes me easily laugh. There's this meme where it's standing at my door, checking wallet, keys, and watch. What am I forgetting? Oh right, the guy trapped in the piss dimension.
Yeah, we got to get you on Ain't Shit Show. That is a real fucking treat.
That's a portal to the piss dimension right there.
That is a portal to the piss dimension. It's our buddy Marcus, who is a schizophrenic mail carrier and former steroids user. Just runs a very powerfully schizophrenic podcast, and it's a good time every time.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that we're getting our own lore that we have to explain now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody but if you're listening and you have questions about anything that we're talking about, ask us, because I don't want our podcast to become impenetrable dreck that you have to have been an early listener to. We're just have a Twitter account. That's all you need to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you're not sure, email Jay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we've lost our secret weapon. Alter Ego is the one who is trying to find out more information. So we're basically lost again. The stakes have been raised now. The students are on their own. And as if that wasn't enough, the ultimate detective, Kyoko, approaches us after the trial. And you might remember her whole thing is that she's the one who actually does all the detective work in investigating everything, kind of just like strings us along.
Who's alive right now? Who are our remaining students?
So we are down to 7 students. We're the main character. We're the ultimate detective. We're the fortune teller. We're the writer. We are the we're Byakuya, the Baron Trump type, and we also have the swimmer, and we have her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're killing people pretty quick.
Yeah, we're getting to the end. We're approaching the final case, actually. So, but anyway, so her big reveal that she's found for us is that there's actually a 16th student in the building, and that her name is Mukuro Ikusaba, and her title is The Ultimate Despair. So there's another student in here who is, they might be involved in this somehow. Yeah, just like I said, now they're at the point where they're just adding more stuff. It kind of felt like they backed into a corner and were like, what do we do? More people, like.
Right.
Oh yeah, so this is where we are. Yeah, we're down to 7 students, including that new one that they just mentioned. There's a little outline there. We don't know what they look like, but this is who we're down to here.
You know, I will give it to anime in general, where like the silhouettes of my characters are just kind of like hunched over, emaciated, like, you know, DEFCON 4 anorexic ghouls. And, you know, they all kind of have the same silhouettes. But anime, Jesus Christ, it's like that I'm sure Jay, you've seen this, but like, if you want to draw a rat, you just draw any shape and then add a tail and whiskers, because rats are so like blobby and they can take whatever form. They can be really long or little squiggles, you know? Yeah. And this one is just like, you could literally draw any conceivable shape and give it boots. And like, that's an anime character. Because there's one in here that looks like, it would look like if your head was immediately exploding. There's one who with like Jimmy Neutron hair. There's one whose head looks like the side view of like a raven's head, or like a bird of prey. Man. Yeah, there's just like something. It's pretty wild. Palm trees and like lots of pigtails and braids. Like a lot of high energy, high effort. You know, outfits and clothing.
Who's that?
Is there any reasoning?
I was going to say, it reminds me of Who's That Pokemon, and that, you know, you've like designed the character correctly when you can tell exactly who they are by their silhouette.
Yeah. Now, is there any reason to the coloring we're seeing here?
I think that's denoting, it's sort of counting down, like the black ones are the ones who are dead, and the yellow and red ones are the ones who are alive. So it's just differentiating them.
If you can imagine 2 flashlight beams crossing over each other, and the characters are kind of caught between them. Some of them have black silhouettes, some of them with red, some of them with yellow. But maybe the ones that are in the red beam of light are of like a certain disposition. Like I would be thinking about like, this kind of implies 2 different teams and like kind of a spectrum between them. But I don't think.
Yeah, it doesn't line up with those characters.
Who cares?
It just looks cool.
Yes.
It'll look cool. Earlier, the Danganronpa threads were very long and very active, but it was just kind of like chatter and like sports, like being at a sporting event. So that's why I did a very zoomed out thing. And the Danganronpa 2 Let's Play, like I mentioned, the Danganronpa 1 Let's Play was incredibly successful. It was so successful, it's ultimately what got the game localized. And so while Oren Ronan was working on the Danganronpa 2 Let's Play, they announced that they were going to be localizing the first game in English. And so when they were working on the Let's Play of Danganronpa 2, they started it on December 11th, 2012. February 11th of 2014 was when the official English translation of Danganronpa was released, when they were still working on it. And then the next day, they announced that Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair was getting an official localization that fall. So basically, before he could finish the fan translation, they released the official translation. And when they did this announcement, Oren Ronan was like, I'm not going to spend all this time and effort doing a translation like that's already going to be coming out. And plus, I'm putting myself in legal liability because I want to, one of the reasons why this got delayed too is he moved to Japan. Like this did well enough that he's someone who translates. Like we'll see more what he does now, but he moved to Japan after this, and during that move, that was part of the break. So this is just like now he's like, this is kind of my job now. I don't want to threaten that because I'm doing an unlicensed translation of a fan thing of that's coming out for real.
So remind me again what the gameplay of this is actually like.
Mostly just talking to people, going through dialogue. Sometimes you walk through like a 3D school building and examine stuff. And then you have a trial at the end where you like pick apart arguments like in Phoenix Wright.
Okay, so are there lose states? Do you know what I mean?
There are one or two special non-standard game overs you can get, but for the most part, it's just like if you mess up, you get a game over and start over from the beginning of the scene. Like it's pretty forgiving. There's not like having to restart a whole chapter over usually.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I've been treating this whole thing like it was just we're reading a manga, but I guess I forgot that this is actually we're talking about a game.
Yeah, there is so much like little mini games and like walking around the school. And like there are times when you don't know what to do and you have to like just talk to every person to figure out or like check all the buildings to see what's supposed to trigger the next flag. Like I'm skipping over a lot of downtime. Like I said, like my playtime was like 30 something hours on this.
Jesus. Yeah, that's funny because the more I know about video games, the more I think about how they are organized. Like, just for instance, in a game like Silent Hill, what I was playing last night, and if there's a circumstance where I go into a room and it triggers a cutscene, I know that has to have changed something in the outer world, give me a key item or unlock a door somewhere, because they won't make it so you can skip cutscenes unless you are doing some crazy workaround to skip a cutscene, because they want you to see every single cutscene in like a standard playthrough. And so like just seeing how games are structured now, it's just like I know more about how things are hidden in them and like kind of the guts of how they're put together. So it's kind of funny to see like when you have restricted win and lose states within a game like this.
Yeah, it is very, in general, like it is very linear. Like you very rarely have any chance to sort of deviate from the main path at all. Like there's usually just one right answer in each situation to progress to the next state. It's very pass fail.
Right.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that is just like a very sort of tragic irony about this thing is that it became so successful that ultimately like it wound up destroying itself. Like because like the Danganronpa Let's Play became so successful, it was no longer viable to do it because the real thing became available. And that is such a bittersweet thing to be like so successful that it like undermines the thing you were doing in a weird, but also it made it way more popular. Like Danganronpa like has sold over 1 million copies now, just the first one alone. Like it's so much more, it just seems like such an interesting sort of, thing about the person who helped blow it up kind of not really catching that wave. I think.
Yeah.
It was like
in a million. Go ahead. Sorry.
It is our number one most requested game at Game Grumps.
Really?
Like they've done it before and they didn't finish it, and the amount of people that are like finish Danganronpa was insane, and they eventually did it. But like there is no game that has been requested more than Danganronpa.
I know a guy who makes these like really fucking cool shirts where like they are like kind of designed to look like vintage horror movie posters, but like classed up, not like Splatterfest type of shit of old video games. Like I have like it's called Prestige Merch Apparel. He's great. Buy his stuff. I know you'll look at it and be like, this is expensive, but they're really worth it. Really cool designs. He does bunch of Silent Hill stuff and Metal Gear Solid, and he'll just like pick out a few other things, and like he makes these really cool designs for shirts. Give him a follow. He's
Prestige merch design.
Yeah, Prestige Merch Apparel, I believe. Yeah, he's cool. And I had something for this. Well, yeah, what I'm saying is like he does like Metal Gear Solid, Silent Hill. He did one for, I think he did The Suffering, which is so cool. A game that doesn't get enough love. But he also I keep trying to get him to do like a fucking super gritty, dark cover of like Chip's Challenge. Do you remember Chip's Challenge?
No, what's that?
It was a little puzzle game that was with Windows 98. It was like super, like there were like hundreds of levels. But it was just like a super, super, super retro game. But if you can imagine like a really badass over the top illustration on the cover of like, you know, Super Nintendo game where like the cover is like super beautiful and like done by hand, where it's like a guy running from these huge explosions that devils are coming out of, and then the actual game is just like these little sprites moving around. You know what I mean? Chip's Challenge would be like that. You could have like James Bond running away from like a fire breathing dragon, and it's like, but the game itself is just like these little, you know, 8-bit graphics and shit. Or like Jezball. I would love to see like a fucking badass, like a dark, gritty reboot of like Tetris. Plock, you know? Rayman, but it's like, it starts like a film noir.
Rayman, but he has his limbs and they get cut off because it's really edgy.
Yeah, like that's how, that's his fucking, that's how you find out. Anyway.
Yeah. And I did have this thing here, like, what the nice thing about him announcing that he wasn't going to continue the translation was everyone was really cool with it. They understood, like, but I did have a little clear. Someone was just like, I got this from Reddit. They said, I also definitely wish Oren Ronan finished the Danganronpa 2 translation. Even though there's an official localization, I wonder what cultural references I'm missing. And I wonder about how the honorific usage might have evolved over time, you know? Like, people liked getting his commentary and his trivia. And so we don't have that on the back of the sequel because, like, there was in the rest of it, just because he stopped. And the fans, you know, that was something that they missed.
Yeah, I can get that. Like, I highly recommend, if you're gonna read Lovecraft, that you don't buy one of like the big omnibus collections. I mean, get it eventually if you really like it. But I think that like I think Penguin's versions of it, where they're like really profusely annotated with like explanations of why he used certain like areas and phrases and stuff like that, you know. I think that really helps flesh out his stories. And like, same thing with this is like, I want to know why they're saying certain things, you know?
Yeah, and I really appreciated getting to see his notes reading this Let's Play, especially having experienced the official localization, because it does add some context and also some decisions to that. And I was pretty happy because I found Oren Ronan on Blue Sky. They're still around, and they still live in Tokyo. They work in localization and translation. They worked on Slow Beef's horror game Atama, so the Let's Play connection continued from this. They worked on that, and I found a really fun tweet because they tweet about Japanese print media a lot. I found this one here. He says, English teaching book that uses JoJo's Bizarre Adventure dialogue supervised by Megadeth's Marty Friedman. And sure enough, there he is.
Those are a series of words. English teaching book that uses JoJo dialogue supervised by Megadeth's Marty Friedman.
That's a lot of words.
Cool.
Yeah, and the cover is a JoJo anime character saying in English, "The winner is me," a lot, with Japanese underneath it.
Yeah, it's like the winning screen of that like catastrophically bad semi-truck racing game.
A winner is you,
right? Yeah. Where it says a winner is, or is it no? That's the one that says you're a winner. YOU apostrophe RE.
Yeah, you're
a winner. That's so funny.
So good. Yeah. So now we know how so that's how the Let's Play ends, is that it has to stop because the game got too successful. So now we're going to find how the game itself ended, and we're entering the final, we're entering chapter 5 here. 100-mile dash, pain of a junk food junkie. That is a joke that doesn't get paid off until the very end of the chapter. It's not very good.
I'm not looking forward to how a historically immature medium a historically immature example of a historically immature medium handles junk food, and I'm going to imagine some sort of well, no, the fat character's already dead.
Yeah.
All right, then go for it. Never mind.
Yeah. So
okay, we can't. Yeah.
So every time
died eating ice cream or whatever.
So every time there's a new chapter, a new floor, the school unlocks. So this time we go up to the new floor. It has an indoor gardening center, a Japanese shrine with cherry blossoms, and this classroom that is here. It's Winslow, if you want to paint it.
Yeah, it is a classroom that is completely splattered in gore and chalk outlines of bodies on the ground, which I'm sure this is common knowledge by now, but like, I don't think that they ever used chalk outlines for bodies. No. They might have used that once or twice in like the early 20s.
It was specifically for reporting.
Yes, for reporting. But that's like not ever been a thing, you know?
Yeah, it's like how defibrillators don't work how they really work and stuff. It's just all like shorthand now.
Yeah, that's so funny. Because I remember seeing chalk outlines of bodies all over the place when I was walking through campus when I was in college. And it was as I was reading Dave Cullen's book, Columbine. And I was just like, this is a little on the nose, guys. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah. Yeah, it's just a classroom that clearly has had a lot of deaths in it.
Yeah.
But we will see.
Yeah, and Monokuma pops up and he tells us that this is the one classroom in the school that he left exactly as he found it. And the bloodstains are old, which is why they aren't pink. I guess this is how the censorship rules work. Since it's like dried old blood, it's not, shocking enough.
Interesting. They got away with that.
Yeah, it is very interesting. Yeah, and so yeah, just this is kind of adding the mystery. Like, oh yeah, this like they talked about something horrible happened, and now we're seeing like, oh yeah, like this is like a bunch of people, like we're seeing sort of a glimpse at what happened. And
fascinating.
Yeah, so it's proceeding from there. So since Sakura broke the lock to the headmaster's office earlier, Kyoko, the ultimate detective, gets in and steals a key, and we're trying to figure out what it does. Like, this is like I said, this is a pretty messy chapter. So first, now we have this mysterious key in play. Then we have a thing where someone finds a knife and the main character takes it and they get sick and they wake up to a person in a mask stealing the knife. So now we have a scary knife in play too, on top of like a mysterious key. Like, this is all kind of ratcheting up.
We have the knife character is the guy
the lucha.
In the luchador mask. Fascinating.
Yeah, with the little Monokuma.
Are we like I know enough about like the beat by beat story here, but like I don't know these characters well enough to ever say like that I have any predictions on who it could be. I know my gut instinct is that it's going to be some big reveal at the end that it's not actually any of the characters. I don't know. I know that there's always going to be some twist ending with these. It's just going to be like, oh wow, so it was actually a dream the whole time.
Yeah. And also, so the next morning, Makoto goes out to tell everyone about that, hey, I got sick, and while I was sick, someone stole the scary knife. And when they go in the auditorium, they find this scene here, where one of the Monokuma robots has deactivated just out in the open because whoever normally controls him isn't there. And so the students just found this sort of vacant robot and are taking it apart. And wouldn't you know, remember earlier, one of the robots self-destructed when they were messing around with it, and they take the bomb out. So now we have a bomb in play on top of the knife and the mystery key.
Great.
So just kind of juggling all these plot devices at once.
Yeah, give it to the Wook. I'm sure he'll be able to handle a bomb.
Yeah. I guess just like the one thing I got this is like you finally get a sense of scale for Monokuma. Like, he's pretty big. Like, he looks like a little teddy bear, but when you see them messing with the robot, it's like, oh, this is almost like a person-sized robot. Like, you could see how this would actually be pretty intimidating to get attacked by one.
Yeah, big enough to fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Gengar.
Yeah. And so everyone's getting together to go to the headmaster's office now that it's unlocked, and somebody discovers a body in the garden. So we find this body here of what looks like the person in the luchador mask. They're
Yeah, and just stabbed with the ice cream knife.
Yeah, they've been stabbed in the back with the knife, the big scary knife.
It looks like if Jesus went to Mexico on vacation and bought a luchador mask and then was stabbed in the chest by the cartels. But it also looks like he's wearing a lab coat backwards.
Yeah, they're wearing like a white long coat as well as the luchador mask. Yeah,
but that is a backwards.
Yeah, that is the thing about it too. Is
right?
It's like the mask is on them backwards, but also also maybe the coat's on them backwards. Yeah, it's weird. Like their hands are facing up, but the coat is.
It's Voldemort. It's the guy from the first Harry Potter with the backwards face.
Malignant.
Yes.
Oh, it's Malignant.
Oh gosh, yeah, it's gonna start throwing chairs at us.
God, I love that scene. Exhilarates me.
So good. Yeah. Yeah, so we find this dead body with a knife in it, and when Toko tries to pull the knife out, it explodes. This whole body blows up and sends her flying. So this was all a trap to get us to blow the body up by taking the knife out.
There's going to be a lot of... I feel like the deeper we've gotten into this, every time some anime bullshit happens, I'm just like... Cool.
Yeah. Also, it's very funny because this explosion sends Toko flying, and she's just fine. She just gets up, and she's like, "Oh, I got thrown by the blast." So, like you said, the problem with being a cartoon wacky land, it's like people are getting blown up and shrugging it off.
Yeah, I do know that one thing that when people are shot in real life, they don't they don't rock their body back because
flying,
no matter how fast that bullet's going, the bullet weighs very little and imparts not a lot of
it goes
mass,
through you,
right? And so in real life when people get shot, most of the huge reaction of people around bombs is a semi-conscious reaction, lunging away from it. It's obviously you can get blown back, but if you're physically getting blown back by the shockwave of a bomb, you have massive internal injuries.
Yeah, you've already been concussed,
Yeah. You were actually tweeting about how people are complaining about the Tomb Raider reboot from 2013. Am I right?
Yeah, it was. I just been thinking about because I've been seeing some people complaining about the death animations and that because there's a thing where it's the death. Yeah, they're very upsetting in an intentional way, and people are like, oh, they're the sickos. They did that because they just wanted and I was like, I don't know. I thought it was very uncomfortable in a way that worked and in a survival setting, made me not want to have the character die.
It did, but they were
very extreme. Yes,
they were. I don't know, Vanessa. Did you play the reboot?
Oh yeah, they were gnarly.
Yeah, they were gnarly as shit, and I feel like we've talked about this in the past, but it's yeah, dog, I don't know if I need to see anybody that brutally killed, but especially when you're playing a young woman, it's Jesus Christ, dude, what is going on? But the counterpoint being that in Tomb Raider 1 and 2, she falls on spikes and shit, and if they had the graphics, they would be showing it pretty brutally too, but I don't know.
Yeah, and
rough.
Very rough, yeah. And so now we find the blown up body and we get to investigate it. And this is when the students, they all kind of do that. This is Mukuro Ikusaba, the 16th student and the potential mastermind that has been murdered because this body matches up with the information they found about her. So it looks like our mysterious 16th student just got killed. They got stabbed and then blown up to cover the evidence. Yeah. So we're just gonna go on out. Yeah, we're gonna go to the headmaster's office. We finally get to see what's inside there, and this is the headmaster's office. This is this big science fiction panopticon where the whole school has been surveilled and controlled remotely this whole time. This is how Monokuma has been watching everyone.
Yeah, it's every other surveillance thing. You can imagine banks of computers and screens and stuff like that. It's the scene from Batman. Dark Knight, right?
Yeah, that.
All the different, yeah.
Yeah, and there is a big Monokuma door that's not open right now. But they're looking at all these TVs, and there's a TV antenna that they find. And when they hook up the TV antenna, it's receiving their own surveillance feed. So this is when they realize that, this is being broadcast. everything that's happening here. These cameras aren't just to surveil us. This is to broadcast it to the outside world. And this is when...
yeah, so it's like a game show type of thing.
Yeah, so Monokuma pops up, and yeah, this is what it explains. The killing game is being broadcast live to the entire world. It's the most popular thing on TV. I have his little quote here. Everything has a meaning, you know. All those hints I gave you, all those tantalizing tidbits about the school's mysteries, even me luring you here right now. Why would I do any of that without a reason? It was all for my captive audience, to show them true despair like they'd never seen it before. I became the director of a despair-based production. This is the ultimate reality show, the best in despair entertainment. Like... This is when despair kind of starts to lose all meaning. It just becomes like every third word. It's like when they talk about darkness at the end of a Kingdom Hearts game. It's just like...
Yeah, it makes me wonder what the original translation of these things were. What does despair specifically mean to in like the original Japanese? Right, like because there's got to be like a few things that are lost between there and here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't actually know off the top of my head the specifics of that, but I agree. Yeah, and I noticed like that is something that happens a lot in sort of like anime type games where there's like a proper noun that gets used a lot, like that, like hope and despair, or darkness and light in Kingdom Hearts, or something like that. Where right. They like those proper nouns a lot.
Yeah, like my buddy a million years ago would talk about like NPC dialogue in games without fleshed out like ideas. They talk about how like if you don't have any ideas of how your world should run, you just have people use money called credits, and they talk about the gods, you know, or just like very vague things without fully fleshed out ideas. And this is giving very much like a we have all of the thoughts for like developing a extremely silly, high octane Saw ripoff, but we didn't really think about like the greater implications. You know, they were writing this as they were drawing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very much the feel I get from this. Like, we'll talk about more when we get to like the ending and we really kind of see how everything falls apart. Yeah.
And I want to state that the swimmer character, that is as athletic that you can draw a female character in a video game without people trying to firebomb your house. Because like if you have a woman who has like a jaw or like any muscles shown in any capacity, men will now like try to crystal knock to your own fucking Twitter account. Like, it's just insane. I don't know if you've seen the shit about the new Tomb Raider, and it's like,
so stupid.
He's an action hero, and they're just like, how dare the original Lara Croft was just like this soft, pampered woman.
Like, she should like
yeah. It's just it's so dumb.
Like the students do push back against this idea, like you said, like the idea of like the resources required to like broadcast this to the whole world. That's ridiculous. Like, also one thing they bring up is like, there's no way that the whole world could be watching this and nobody would come and try and rescue us, which is like, you know, cute. But yeah, so Monokuma just plays coy and pieces out. So this is just another part of the mystery now. We're being broadcast to the world. And
yes,
so like I mentioned, so the format of the game is starting to fall apart. We're not getting a real trial in this one, so there's not going to be the usual comic. This is more like a vehicle for exposition than the usual trial. So the ultimate detective is able to find the student records for Mukuro, the ultimate despair. And it turns out her actual title is the ultimate soldier / super high school level soldier. And her thing is that she's a child soldier who was in a mercenary group named Fenrir during her middle school years. That's why the corpse had that hand tattoo. It's their symbol. Yeah, so here's Mukuro Ikusaba, the ultimate soldier.
Like, I know we've talked about
really
this like 100 times, but like, it to me is just like, what more can we say? Like, it really just is things that 7th graders would think are cool. and it's kind of nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, there's so little going logic for it. You have like this sexy schoolgirl who's a middle schooler murderer, the greatest swimmer in the world, and also like she's not the greatest swimmer. Her name is she's the Great Despair or whatever, and also is like a tactical covered in guns and rockets and shit. Like that gun and that rocket launcher and the gun on her back, the weight of those combined weighs about as much as an average 7th grade Japanese girl, and I have checked. So it's just like it's hard to like keep. It's like I'm sure there's a character who's also a 2,000-year-old goddess who just happens to be like a big titty 9-year-old schoolgirl psychic who's from hell. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude. Have a second idea. like have an idea that you don't immediately go with, you know?
Yeah, the child soldier thing, like, also that's kind of playing with live ammo. Like, that's a real, like, tragic thing that happens.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Like, a quirky affectation of an anime villain is kind of like, you know, like this actually happens to people.
Yeah, general butt naked, you know?
Yeah. And also, speaking of the tattoo, you better believe that people have that tattoo in real life. I found multiple people with the Fenrir tattoo. Of course they do. Yeah, one on the actual back of the hand, like her, and like a shoulder blade one there. But like it's not even that good of a design. Like, I like the concept, but it's just like a wolf head on a star.
I do like that the wolf doesn't look like super angry.
It looks like it has eyelashes, kind of.
Yeah, I like that it's got little eyelashes and stuff. It's just kind of like a very plain wolf head. And I do also like that you can tell from these 2 tattoo examples that you've given us here that they are on the bodies of people who, you know, are like the most physical activity they do is turning the pages of their manga or clicking their mouse. You know what I mean? Like, just soft, pale white skin.
Yeah. But yeah, just so now we're going to the actual trial. And like I said, the whole murder scene was staged to hide the method and time of the murder. So there's basically the only thing that they can really go on is alibis. And Makoto, the player character, since he was sick in bed, he's the only character who doesn't have an alibi. So the reason why we don't have a usual trial is because you, the player, are found guilty of this murder. Like, conceptually, I thought this was kind of a neat idea. Like, I don't like that they railroad you into it and just have it be a contrivance that they can't prove you didn't do it, but I wasn't expecting them to do that. That was fun.
Yeah. Let's see how they fuck it up.
Yeah, that's kind of a going theme with the rest of this game. Just I can imagine a version of this that's good and I like, but what they do with the concept is pretty mid. Yeah, so I'm not going to do the video here, but yeah, you get found guilty. And your execution, like I mentioned, Makoto is a very boring character. Since he doesn't really have a personality, his execution is school. That is his theme.
His theme is student?
Yeah, his theme is
what?
Yeah, he's a student, so his execution is called after school lesson, and he's tied to a desk, and it's slowly being pulled to a crushing machine. So yeah, his execution theme is student.
Okay, that makes me think of when I was in a high school, our homecoming dance theme was coming home. So it's just like a homecoming theme. It's like ice cream flavored ice cream. Like, what?
That is a BoJack Horseman banner gag.
Oh man.
So you're being fed into this crushing machine, but just at the last moment, there's a little screen on it showing Monokuma, and Alter Ego comes back. It turns out she had uploaded herself into the mainframe, and so she sacrifices herself to stop the crushing machine, and so you don't get crushed. Instead, you just fall down a garbage chute intact. You kind of have the portal thing going on here, where now you're falling into the trash outside of the setting.
Who among us hasn't fallen into the death trap trash machine? How much trash could they possibly be generating?
We actually get to see that. We're in the dump now. Yeah.
It's very, very Half-Life, you know, because it's just like lots of like gray trash. And isn't there a scene? No, wait, what am I thinking?
Portal 2?
There's some scene where Portal 2, yeah, where you end up in some like trash pile.
Yeah, we're down like the Cave Johnson levels here.
Cave Johnson here. Okay. Well, we're going to cut it here. We do have one more episode of this anime bullshit for you. I really hope that people didn't log on and listen to this hoping us to be like super fucking weebed out and enjoying all of this all the way through. We're not here for that. We were raised on something awful. Cynicism is the name of the game. But this has been fun. And any last thoughts before we break?
I might actually play this at some point.
Yeah, and if you do play it, there is a bunch of stuff that isn't in here. There's all this side stuff. There's all this extra dimensionality. So yeah, if this is something that you're interested in, you think I'm being mean to it, unfair, check it out.
Yeah, it's like a no romance dating simulator. There's lots of conversations and clicking that you can do, and we all know how fun it is to click the mouse. As you know, we are still looking for more submissions for our list of topic ideas on our we have the links on all of our socials, because we are going to be expanding the front of this podcast to include a lot of the early internet as well. So if you have any experience with the early internet, if you remember getting 1,000 free hours from AOL or going on to MSN chat rooms or any of that shit, we would love to hear some of the weird websites or drama or stories from your experiences on the internet. Specifically, we're looking for stories and not just like, do you remember AOL? But, so if you have any specific things that you would like to talk about, or if you would like to contribute or maybe even guest or write for this show, we're going to have a lot of opportunities for that moving forward. So that's iftipod@gmail.com, iftipod on Twitter, and you can find me at calculations on Instagram and at winslowdomain.com, and of course I am Winslow Domain on Twitter. And Jay, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm jaybrandstetter pretty much everywhere. I don't have anything of my own to promote this time, so I want to give a very fun example of people kind of providing stuff, and also do a shout out to a listener of ours, Miles. He sent me a zine that he made about when he was 12. He trolled a New Zealand forum for quail owners, and it is just such an adorable little slice of like a 12-year-old getting trolls, and where it's like he registers accounts as the people's quails and is posting as them, and these like 50-year-old New Zealand grandmas are like, "That's not my bird," and he's just like. Just these wonderful glimpses into humanity. I love getting to have this so much.
Yeah, dude.
Thank you so much for setting that, Miles. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is great. Vanessa, where can we find you?
You can find me at NESS Guerrero on Twitter. I believe in SNES Guerrero on Instagram and everywhere else. And then every Monday I produce a show called 10 Minute Power Hour that's on the Grumps on YouTube. Check that out.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
And we will catch you again for the final conclusion of Danganronpa next week. Thanks. I'm From the Internet is created by Jay Brandstetter and Winslow Domain. Edited by Steve Brown. Music by Steve Isbrook.
I was silently humming to myself for some reason. I am not mentally well.